Previously on the Stormythology Series.
Now 21 years old, Ororo is still the ordained rain goddess of the Azuri tribe and loved and worshipped by many tribes and villages across Africa. Various religions have even begun to spring up in her name. One day, while summoning a rainstorm to fill a recently man-made dam in an African village near the Savage Land, Ororo is caught unaware and her rainstorm is stolen and amplified by an albino African named Deluge. The lightning storm Deluge created unintentionally knocked the X-Men's makeshift air balloons from the sky as they fled a volcano which had erupted during a battle with the supervillain Magneto. Ororo manages to rescue the beast, and she and the X-Men join forces to battle Deluge. Ororo creates a magnifying glass in the sky, and Marvel Girl uses her telekinetic powers to open the eyes of the unconscious Cyclops, and her telepathic powers to force a blast of concussive energy through Ororo's magnifying glass, which eventually overloads and disintegrates Deluge. Ororo thanks the strange American teenagers, which she initially thinks are also gods, just like herself.
Months have passed, and in America, in Westchester, New York, it is graduation day, and coincidentally, the Beast, eldest of the bunch, is celebrating his 20th birthday. And with the newest additions of Lorna, Dane, Polaris, the daughter of Magneto, and Alex Summers, Havok, Cyclops' younger brother, the Beast feels that now is the right time for him to leave his teenage comrades and join the world-renowned Avengers. That afternoon, after a brief final exam, Professor Charles Xavier's mutant students have graduated into full-fledged, battle-tried X-Men, and they have sworn to continue to champion Xavier's dream of mutant-human coexistence. Only an hour after graduation, Xavier's mutant detection device Cerebro detects a powerful mutant signal on a remote island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and he sends his new graduates, the X-Men, to investigate. However, the mutant signal Xavier had received was of the island itself, which had somehow gained sentience and hungered for other mutant energies. When the X-Men landed on the mysterious Pacific island, Professor Xavier loses his telepathic link with the teen psychic, Marvel Girl. The living island, Krakoa, had detected their vast powers, and the ground and jungle itself attacked them. The last thing Xavier sees through Marvel Girl's mind is his X-Men being attacked by mindless monsters. Krakoa quickly entangles the mutants in vines and slowly drains all of them. Its trap successful. Meanwhile, back at the X-Men's mansion, Professor Xavier is terrified. He knew this moment would someday come, but it was long dreaded. Yet, secretly, he has planned for this, and although premature, Xavier activates Project Genesis. Still in shock, Xavier reaches out to his one-time lover, now scientific colleague, Moira McTaggert, and begs her for the help of her own new mutant team. At first, Moira is very reluctant. Her mutants were more students than superheroes. However, with her permission, Xavier shares the last thoughts of his screaming team with Moira, and she yields. And together they execute Project Second Genesis, and Moira allows him to recruit and train her team. Unfortunately, however, Moira's team had only begun their combat training. They had no in-field experience with the use of their powers, but the young mutants were very eager. To them, there was no greater purpose for a mutant than to be part of the now famous X-Men. Xavier warns them of the danger of the living island Krakoa, and he spares no details. But the students insist, especially the powerful young mutant which Xavier had taken a particular interest in, Gabriel Summers. Within hours, Xavier telepathically delivers months of combat training, and they are hastily inducted as the newest X-Men and sent straightway to Krakoa for their first mission. But they were doomed long before they even landed on the island. The first sign, they too instantly lose their telepathic links with Xavier upon landing on Krakoa. Then almost immediately, Krakoa begins to attack. Xavier's mental training comes in handy for the young students, however, and they eventually find and rescue only Cyclops, whose powers had been drained almost completely. After they get him to the X-Men's new SR-71 model jet, the leader of Moira's student team reveals to Cyclops that Moira and Professor Xavier had recently discovered that he was Cyclops' younger brother, and he has chosen the superhero moniker Kid Vulcan. Gabriel forces Cyclops onto the X-Men's jet and uses his powers to lock him inside. Eager to impress Cyclops, Kid Vulcan and his team rush back into the living jungle to complete the mission Xavier had secretly programmed into their minds. Find and save all the X-Men by any means necessary. Unaware that Krakoa had already begun to drain their powers as well. Hoping to get high enough above the island to be outside of its apparent psychic blocks, Cyclops, desperate to reach Xavier, lifts the jet into the air. And as he hovers above, Cyclops watches his newfound brother and his team as they fight through the living jungle. But they do not get far. The girl Sway was the first to die, torn to pieces. Krakoa then creates volcanic monoliths, and the monsters incinerate the remaining students, including Gabriel. And witnessing his brother's death literally drives Cyclops mad.